All right. All right, we'll give it a few seconds. I think
Okay.
I think we in the paint.
All right. I
We'll
am
give it some time.
here.
We'll give it
Yep,
some
I can
time.
see it. I can see it.
All right, I see some eyes. Shout out to everyone joining us today. This is going to be very insightful. So tap all your business owners, shoot them a message, tell them to tap in, share this, like it, comment, have your questions ready. We have the expert with us. Now, I do have my bottle of water, so my mouth does not get dry during this interview because we are going to be discussing some very important topics. So I'm seeing the crowd increase, which is exciting. Let's go ahead and grab your lunch. Hopefully you got your lunch in front of you because you're gonna get some food during this session, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get some grub while you're eating in front of you. So super excited. What's going on, Talib?
Oh my goodness, everything. All good stuff. I'm loving the energy. It's
That's
definitely
right.
a high vibration Thursday. Let me tell you something.
You got that right. You
Yeah.
got that right. Shout out to the good weather too. You know.
I know. I would prefer for it to actually be fall weather, but
Okay.
you know
Okay.
how Alabama does it. I mean,
Pick and choose.
seriously.
Pick and choose. All right. Good. 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 All right. So let's do this. It's 12:35. We'll go ahead and jump in. As shared through our different platforms, this is specifically for business owners. But even if you're not a business owner, there may be some really good tips for you if you have aspirations to start in a business at some point. Because this information is definitely, I'm gonna use a $500 word, ubiquitous to any industry. That means everywhere. You could apply it everywhere. To every industry, because one thing about numbers, one thing about accounting, numbers don't lie, and so you got to make sure your numbers line up. One thing that I will also share is that Talibah is the accountant for IMC Financial Consultant. Very, very proud to say, and also our accountant for our household, and she's done a magnificent job. Thank you for teaching us on the best way to leverage the tax code and structure our business. So I know that the information we'll be discussing today, we apply it, right? And so this isn't anything in which, all right, we read an article and started talking. Like, no, this is information that Talibah's been able to help her clients help our clients with. So let's be sure to tap in and take notes. All right, now that I said all that, you got lunch next time, Talibah. I know.
I know. I got all, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Lunch, drinks,
joking. All of that.
all of
So,
that.
but let's do this. Tell us about yourself. Tell us where you're from and what got you into the accounting industry.
Okay. So I'm Talibah Bayles, founder and CEO of TMB Tax and Financial Services, and my new baby, my nonprofit Access Granted. I am born and raised here in Birmingham, Alabama. I stepped away for about 18 years and moved to the DC metropolitan area. I live just about everywhere in the metropolitan area in DC, where I worked on Capitol Hill for a few years and then did about 12 years with the Department of Justice. That was all national security and politics. So I had a
Wow.
full pivot, right? In that life, I was putting my career first, as they say. And so I wanted to come back home. My parents were aging. Wanted to make sure my children were around my family, and I wanted to, I felt like I was being called to do more. Believe it or not, and a lot of people are like more than working for the FBI or more than I was like, yeah, there's more, right? I wanted to really like hone into my passion of being a small business owner because that's what I grew up seeing in my mother and father and other family members. And so, the need that I knew was there when it comes to our Black owned businesses is like infrastructure,
Right, right,
numbers,
right.
taxes. And so my mom did taxes and accounting my whole life. So just naturally That's where I
Yeah.
landed.
Yeah.
I landed
Love it.
in just mixing the passion of understanding just like the value and the role that small business plays in a family, in a community. Right? Like when
Yeah.
a small
Yeah.
business is successful, I mean, that's economic development. And so
Right.
that's
Right.
what my heart and my passion longed for, was having a more direct impact in my community. And so because I could take the leap and I did everything strategically, I had the support system here. I said, you know what? I'm taking the leap. I'm going to go 100% entrepreneur in this. And so
Yeah.
almost 3 years later, still here and still going strong.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. It's always good to hear the why behind someone's passion, because what we'll get into today, and even some of the recommendations that Talib will be able to speak to, if you're not passionate about it, you wouldn't be talking about it, especially this specific piece. Because interesting enough, and I want to shout out all accountants, all CPAs, all financial professionals, all bankers. This
Hmm.
pandemic has exponentialized the amount of stress
Hmm.
due to the like frequency of changes to
Hmm.
policy that impact business owners. And Taliba and bankers and myself, we've had to essentially be ready for change in the next 5 hours on something
Hmm.
that could be a $200,000 difference for someone's business, right? Or a $20,000 difference. And so definitely want to salute you, but it's always good to hear the why behind what we'll be able to experience here shortly. All right.
Hmm.
So I touched on the pandemic, and that's part of what we'll be able to hone in on, and some of the resources around the pandemic. But before we get into the resources, there is typically a process you have to walk through to be able to qualify for resources.
Hmm.
With the seat that you've had, you've been able to help business owners with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s in PPP funding and EIDL funding. But there are also business owners that possibly did not take it all the way through the finish line. Can you speak to some of the
Hmm.
infrastructure that was a void, right, with those business owners, and then for upcoming business owners, these are some of the things that you need to have in place to make sure that you have a viable business.
Right. So we know even before the pandemic, one of the major challenges with our Black and minority owned businesses was that lack of small business financial literacy. Right. I
Right.
know that's your
Yep.
thing, Isaac, is that financial literacy. And so because there was this lack of small business financial literacy even beforehand, culturally, intrinsically, like that's just
Right. Right.
that's why our reality, right?
Right.
Um, we already didn't have certain things in place. There may have already been a tax compliance issue where
Right.
you were behind on a couple of years on taxes, whether it be personal, whether it be business, whether it be sales tax, whether it be payroll withholdings. There was just a tax issue, right?
Yep.
Then there was also businesses that have been on the cash based business. So
Yep.
there's not really a lot of record keeping or a QuickBooks or any type of accounting software in place. All of that was the reality before the pandemic.
That's
All
right.
right. So then when the pandemic came along, you mixed in all the trauma, that we've all been experiencing in the personal life, and then how that affected the business. We're just in utter chaos
Right.
mentally.
Right.
CEOs, we need
Right.
fortified
Right.
on top of not having all these things in place.
Right.
So I was at the front lines really with the
Yeah.
PPP. That was the initial sort of small business disaster recovery. Just like you said, the governments are saying, small business owners, you are important. We know we're important. Here's money. But the problem became, well, if you hadn't filed your taxes,
Uh-oh.
you were immediately out the game of PPP.
That's right.
You
Out
know,
the game.
I
Yep.
mean, and we're talking about, obviously, like, we really don't have to say this, but I'm gonna say it. It's like, so legally qualified. We're not making up any tax returns or anything like that over
That's right.
here, right?
That's a come
So
on now.
so that's the thing. Is like, so people were naturally, genuinely out of the game because of a tax compliance issue mixed in with trauma on just understanding what you
Right.
needed to do as a business owner.
Right.
And
And let's
so,
let's
yeah,
let's
yeah.
highlight this too. Now, someone may be saying, well, Jimmy down the street, he talking about he got some PPP funding. I don't even know if he knows what an EIN number is, right? Like, so now
Right.
there has been the reality, and that's why I'm so glad you gave that disclaimer. Like, hey, ain't no funny business over here. We doing it. We staying compliant. We're gonna do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been individuals that have whatever and they
Mm-hmm.
receive proceeds and they'll deal with the consequences at some point? That may be true, but also at the same time that in order to apply for these resources, have a peace of mind,
Mm-hmm.
there is a proper way of going about doing that, and that's why the taxes and having your paperwork is important. So I just wanted to highlight that really quick.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we have time, I do want to, speak to the implications of what has happened. Like when you create an opportunity for people to, in essence, take advantage of not knowing a not knowing
Mhm.
population, so the next time you file taxes, or, when it was time for you to be able to get your PPP forgiven, if it's all made up, now you got an SBA loan that you're required to pay. You default on that, and now you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it really created a mess, but that probably be a whole nother webinar. But really, like I said, the infrastructure problem that we had before the pandemic really became worse with the
Yeah,
pandemic.
that's good.
But the bright side of it is, and this is what I love to say, is, when you come across a small business owner that's 100% dedicated, like, I am going to stay in my business because this provides for my family, this provides for my community, and I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure that I have all my stuff. Like, the energy is still very high.
Right.
We did have people that had to close, right? But the people that said, you know what, I'm hanging in there. This is what I'm trying to do. That energy is so high, and I'm loving it. Like, we are
Right.
getting people educated, right?
Right.
So, even if it was a no before, let 6 months, maybe even a year roll back around, and it's not a no. And that's
Right.
that's the main thing that I wanted to relate with that.
Perfect. So let's talk about it. We have businesses that said, okay, well, I do have my 2019 taxes. I am familiar with the PPP. I may have received proceeds from the Paychecks Protection Program. I'm familiar with the EIDL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that they may be thinking, I'm pretty sure that that's over with.
Right.
Let's speak to the climate today, because the
Right.
pandemic is crazy that what is it, 18 months,
Yeah.
19 months or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And so PPP and EIDL, after about, the climate we live in, once you hear something for about 90 days, it's like, all right, cool, unless I got my money or not, I'm gonna keep it moving.
Right.
So there is a level of paralysis around those two
Mm.
terms, where it's just, whatever. But even within our conversation, in which you've enlightened me, and I was able to learn, and which triggered it, like, hey, we got to get this out to the masses, is that, to echo what you've been saying already. There are resources, like you said, for business owners that are committed to their business,
Mm-hmm.
that see the future of their business. And if you fit this profile, you may
Mm-hmm.
be able to tap into resources by the end of this year.
Right.
Correct?
Right,
Okay.
correct. And you said it so perfectly. There's a lot of white noise out there. And really, just because of what I just said, that, you get these memes of people, fraudulently doing stuff with PPP. You see people going to jail or paying these
Yeah.
fines. And so what has happened is, people that are actually qualified have zoned out. They're like,
Mm,
it's too much going on with
that's
these
good.
different programs. Of course, PPP is over with, but EIDL still exists. So when you eliminate the white noise, right, which is what we're going to do today, and actually cut right to the chase, because that's another. We don't have time, you know what I mean,
Right,
these days.
right, right,
So we need to
right.
have it as simple as possible. So with
Yep.
EIDL, right now, EIDL is still in effect. There's still billions of dollars
Mm,
appropriated for the EIDL process. They have even made guidelines changes through which it once was capped out at 500,000. Now the EIDLs can be up to $2 million.
wow.
Okay. But the most important thing And I learned this through the webinar that I did with the Alabama District Office here in Birmingham with Mr. Perkins is two things. Like if y'all don't remember anything that we talk about today,
I got my pen.
When it comes to EIDL and a loan, and we'll talk about loan because a lot of people are like, ooh, loan out, but loan. Okay.
You got to pay it back.
You got to pay it back. However, we're talking about a capital injection here that you may desperately be needing. So two numbers. The first number is if you have at least a 570 Experian Beacon credit score.
Whoa.
And a lot of people are like, did she say a 570? I said a 570. Experian Beacon credit score. That's the first number. The second number is 2019. Have you done and filed your 2019 business tax returns, whether that's a Schedule C, 1120S, however you file as a business? If you filed that 2019 tax return, I want you to listen to us today. I want you to go to the webinar that's on my Facebook page and listen to Mr. Perkins explain this process, because there could be some eligibility there. Yeah. And quite frankly, what has happened, going back to the white noise, so you have the white noise where people are zoning out because they believe, the program's over with or there's fraud. But the other white noise is, if you allow me to kind of go through the timeline on how I believe the messaging fell flat. So last year, right, when we thought of EIDL, your first time hearing EIDL was, oh, look, it's $10,000 grants, right? Everybody was going to the SBA.gov website like, oh, you could get a $10,000 EIDL advance. Right. Everybody was going to get those. Then it changed. It went from $10,000 to $1,000 per person. Right. Yep. Then the money was gone. It was a wrap then. Okay. Now, in that process, you had a number of different things going on. There were some people in applying for the advances. It really was a part of a loan program. That really was a piece of the loan, the EIDL loan, right? But, either people didn't move forward because they were just only interested in the grant, or they got declined, or whatever the case may be. And so now you have a whole population of people that got some kind of money in EIDL last year. Right. So because there really wasn't supposed to be a change between the 10,000 and the 1,000, but that's a whole nother conversation. Right. Because of that, at the top of this year, the SBA started sending out emails inviting you to apply to get that $10,000. Remember? So if you only got 1,000, remember they said, okay, wait for your email. You're going to get an email invitation to apply for the targeted EIDL advance that will make you whole, that will bring you up to that 10,000 if you didn't get the 10,000. So that was the second iteration this year. But the messaging never went back to the loan piece. Yeah. Right. So you got a lot of people in the gray area, people that were denied even at the top of this year. So you got the email invitation saying, I'm inviting you to apply. But some people were still denied, whether it be because of where their business was located. They didn't have the numbers to show. You see what I'm saying? The month comparison between 19 or 20, a number of different reasons why our businesses still didn't qualify for that extra up to $10,000 money. Okay. So then all those people are tuned out. But now, because we're like, okay, that's all in the past. Now your process may be different if you were involved in that. But what you need to know is the 570 that I just said in 2019. Yeah. Because the thing about it is, when you applied last year, you might not have had a 570. I mean, let's be real. We work with real business owners here. That's right. Okay, that's right. If you have a 570 now, that's a reconsideration. And so now that you have written down 570, you done wrote down 2019 tax return, right? So now we need to talk about some more numbers. Okay. Because that's just to get your attention, right? 570 Experian 2019 tax return. For the formula.
Okay.
Now, for how much you could possibly be eligible for if you're qualified. That is going to be your gross income on that tax return, the 2019 tax return for your business.
Okay.
If you have cost of goods sold, you're going to have to subtract that number out, right? And then what's left is that number times 2. So if you brought in, let's say, $40,000 as a business, you don't have cost of goods. So $40,000 is your income. Times 2 is $80,000. So there's a $80,000 loan eligibility calculation for your business. What can you do with $80,000? Come on. I mean, this is what's being missed. Right?
That is, and Talibah, that is such is it has me thinking about a few things. One specifically, typically, when you think about access to capital, just in general, and the normal process that you would need to go through. And of course, there is some a lot of misinformation around, oh, business credit and look, they're gonna pull your credit, buddy. You know, and so for the barrier of entry to be so low at a 570 with a multiplier of gross income to essentially create, like you said, this capital infusion only for those that filed their taxes for 2019. Again, hopefully one of the biggest takeaways is, even if you may say, man, I wish, I had a business. Well, you see the value of a business when it comes to their paperwork. It's just not having the business. It's more so having the paperwork, the resource with to have access to an accountant to give proper advice and guidance. So question.
Yeah.
All right. So we know it's a loan.
Yes.
All right. I have a 582 credit score, right?
Okay.
Look, and I did about $18,750 gross. No cost of goods sold. I don't know why I threw that number out. Now I got to calculate it. So now
it's like 36 something.
Yeah, I think it's like 37,500, something like that. Yeah. So I have about 35,000 in some change, roughly, that I have access to. When do I have to start paying that back?
Okay. So automatically, and like I told Isaac, I have a promissory note right here that a client has signed, got all the details. This is what it is. We're not making it up.
This isn't from a Yahoo article.
Right.
You didn't get this from YouTube.
None of that.
Yeah.
No, we got it. Okay.
That's right.
So now I forgot the question because I wasn't answer it. I'm like, let me make sure y'all know we're not making this up because we don't have time for any of this. But so anyway, there is an automatic 2-year deferral on when you have to make your first payment. Okay, so I'm glad you asked it, because yes, it's a loan, and a lot of people kind of cringe at loan, but that's why you really should be having routine conversations with a financial person to help you develop that strategy so that you're not, caught off guard or just anything like that. You're effectively using that money, right? So the thing of it is, that's 2 whole years. Anything can happen in your business between now and 2 years from now that you could leverage to either pay the whole entire loan off or whatever the case may be. But by default, in this promissory note, you don't have to request it, as in some of the PPP forget. No, you don't have to request it. Automatically, your first payment would not be due until 2 years from the disbursal of your funds in your account.
Wow.
2 years.
Wow. So one may say, and I'm so glad you mentioned, if you are committed to your business and you have access to this capital, and you may say, okay, well, what would I use it for? Well, of course, you got to know about your business to better assess what will be the best use of it. One could say, I need to stabilize the lifestyle that is associated to the business. And when I say lifestyle, that may be you're just reoccurring expenses as an individual, right? Be able to stabilize that so you can keep more money in the business and apply it towards those initiatives. Or you could apply it towards personnel. You may see something to where if I had another person here this will increase our revenue stream and our production, which in turn is going to outweigh question, what's the range of the interest on the loan, right? So you don't have to pay back until start making monthly payments until 24 months.
Yes.
Does it speak to the interest rate?
It does. So for profits, it's 3.75%.
Okay.
Nonprofits is 2.75%. And this is the COVID EIDL we're talking about.
Okay. So we have ultimately we would 3.75% is what you would owe on the amount that you would
It's a
receive.
30-year term.
It,
It's a 30-year term. Let me
oh,
not
30,
forget.
come on now, y'all.
Right.
So hopefully there is something that you can see, if it's personnel, if it's product, if it's process, if it's technology, if it's marketing, right? Like there are a number of
Rent
ways
for your office space, correct.
Right. And one term Talibah and I we use consistently when we talk about business owners and discretionary is like it gives you the ability to breathe. You
Yeah.
can breathe a bit,
Yeah.
especially if you've been impacted by this pandemic. And so 570 credit score, 2019 taxes
have filed. And let me say this too. Now we have until December 31st or when the money runs out. But like I said, the last check, it's, still billions of dollars in there. So if you haven't filed your 2019 tax return, you can still get on that. You know what I mean? You can still get on that and get that filed. Now if you have to amend a return, Lord knows I've had all types of scenarios. If you've had to amend a return, then you need to know that process is going to be longer because we know the IRS is behind. However, if anything that we're hitting today, you're like, dang, I need to amend my return because I know, I finally got my books together or whatever the case may be, and you're like, this actually needs to be corrected. You can still amend your return, but just know that you're going to have to, there's more weeks added on to that because then you're going to have that processing. I mean, anything that involves filing taxes, you are going to have to wait until the IRS processes your tax return. So if you haven't filed, if you need to amend, there's still time to do it. But I always say, try to build up those expectations, but just know there will be a wait because you have to wait on the IRS to process your tax return because the SBA is going to ask you to fill out a form, which we'll get to, called the 4506T. Y'all might have seen my posts about that. And that is how the SBA verifies what you have put as your income for 2019. And that's the whole thing too with everything that has happened, people making up stuff. It's no more of that. Okay, it's no more of that. You're not going to be able to just say I made $100,000 and I filed 2019 and just think the SBA is going to just take that. No, they're going directly to the IRS because you're going to have to give them permission with that 4506T. And then they're going to get a copy of the tax information as you filed it. So if you said 100,000, it better be 100,000 on that tax return because you're gonna get declines if it's
not. When that email come in and you see declined in the subject, like I ain't gonna open it.
And and then you should be expecting it because you know you made it up. But the thing of it is, with anything in federal government, which a lot of people don't realize, it's like you do get another chance. Okay. So that's why I say, if you need to amend a return or whatever the case may be, that declination letter is actually going to spell out what you need to do in order to get a reconsideration and other things like that. So, there's still some chance that you may qualify for a EIDL loan.
Two great points. And before I get to those, I saw a comment that mentioned that, hey, there is an interest rate tied to the loan. That is exactly correct. We touched on that. 3.5% for for-profits or 3.75?
3.75 for
3.75% for for-profits, 2.75% for nonprofits. So, Pierre, thank you for that comment. Now, we do know that with businesses, with strategies, with even now the cost of using other people's money
is
at an all-time low. And so, yes, this is a loan, but for those that work with business owners, understand the way in which capital markets, financial institutions, being
Mhm.
able to leverage someone else's money. So if it costs me
Right.
3.75% for $50,000, the goal is to apply that $50,000 into something that would generate at least 10%, right? Something that would be
Exactly.
greater than that. And so
Exactly.
that is a goal. Now, if you're just looking like I just need some money so I can go to Saks Fifth and
Yeah.
nah,
But that's not what we're talking about.
yeah,
We're
that's right.
talking
That's
about
right.
fully leveraging a capital infusion that you need in
Yep.
such a way that you're going to be so positioned to pay that loan back in 2 years. It's nothing.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
and millionaires use other people's money to make their business more profitable. So that's I'm glad that we got that comment
Right.
to kind of bring it back. So we're talking about a loan, and we're
Right.
intentionally talking about this loan because so many people have money on the table because they're, oh, is it the grant? Is the money gone? Now they're still sending emails out about the targeted EIDL and supplemental advance. I had a client
Right.
apply over the weekend for the loan, and she still got the email afterwards that says you may be eligible for a targeted EIDL grant or
Okay.
supplement. So they're
Yeah.
still doing that, but for the purposes of messaging having fallen flat, right?
Yeah.
I specifically just want to make sure that qualified business owners who are
Yeah.
not averse to a loan know, hey, there's an opportunity for you. Absolutely. The other thing that I want to talk about with the leveraging, this is an SBA loan. Let's go back to the realism of how Black business owners can
Yes,
traditionally
ma'am.
not qualify for
Right.
SBA
Right.
loans because
Right.
they typically have a lot more paperwork involved. Remember, we just
Mhm.
talked about this. So
Right.
you're
Right.
not only leveraging that actual capital infusion, now you have an SBA loan that you're paying back, on time. And that's
Right.
actually
Right.
reporting to your business credit bureaus. So
Mm.
now you're able to build your business credit scores as well. So this is
Right.
an awesome opportunity
Wow.
for business owners, that's either have their stuff together, ready to get their stuff together, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. Access to capital right here is what we're talking about.
This is it. So 2 points. If someone was declined for EIDL
Mhm.
historically previously,
Yeah.
they can still be reconsidered.
Yes.
Okay.
You would have received a letter,
Okay.
that the declination letter is what I'm talking about. It gives you a time frame to reply back to say, I want to be reconsidered. It's 6 months. Again, make sure everything you need to know is in that declination letter. And
Right.
because there's several emails, it's like 3 or 4 different email accounts that depending on, what you need to do. But
Right.
for reconsideration, that declination letter has the reconsideration email address in it, and
Right.
that's what you want to use to respond back to. And with every email that you're going to be doing on EIDL, just like we know, Isaac, you want to make sure that you have your loan number in
Yep.
that subject line,
That's
okay,
right.
and also
That's
in the
right.
body of the email.
That's right.
So yes, you can, if you were declined for whatever reason. Again, if it was credit before, and you know that your
Yep.
credit has improved, if it was one of the other common ones that I get is a lot of people that come to me that haven't filed taxes and they didn't fully understand. Oh, so they're going to be checking for my tax return. So if you got declined because they couldn't, match your information with your taxes, then you will be declined for that. The one thing that really I don't think there's much room to budge on is the whole location thing. A lot of people that got those emails at the top of the year about the targeted EIDL advance, right? I
Right.
had a person comment and say, well, hey, I'm literally, according to this map, I'm literally like 30 feet from, being in a
Mm.
low income area. If
Right.
you were declined for EIDL advance because of that, it's not a lot of wiggle room because that's the map that the SBA uses.
Right,
Right.
right,
But
right,
for
right.
the loan, there's not a requirement for your business to be in a low income area. So there's still opportunity there. Like
It's
I said,
good.
if I had a diagram, man, it would be circles, arrows, square, so many shapes because it is so many paths. But
Yeah.
I mean, just hang in there. If you qualify, pack your patience. If you don't know, find somebody that knows and apply.
That's so good. And with the tax returns, as you mentioned, they're looking at 2019. One thing I just thought about was just through traditional lending is typically we need 2 years of tax returns to even
Mhm,
consider you.
mhm.
So with this one, they're just looking at 2019. So you could have
Correct.
operated in 19 and started rolling in 20, and you can make some things happen. But if
Mhm,
someone did not have yet to process their 2019 taxes, it's October 14th. We know
mhm,
it's close to the end of the window to officially apply. Do they
mhm.
still have a chance to possibly, squeeze in if they could get their information in, process, and then,
Yep,
gets
I would
approved?
just say, as soon as possible, you need to go ahead and file your 29 because everything starts with that tax return.
Yeah.
So, you need to go ahead if you know that you're gathering stuff or whatever it is you're doing, waiting on
Right.
you want to go ahead and file that because you really and truly, and this is just because of the workflow that I know this with this EIDL, you really and truly do not want to apply until you know the IRS has processed your 2019 tax return.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is, just because you e-filed it does not, or and definitely not mailing it, honey. Mailing it, you might be in
Uh,
2022. I don't know. But no, I mean, but seriously, they are behind on
right.
paper mail. But with e-filing, you know, just because you see that it was accepted does not mean the IRS has processed it. So what I
Mm,
typically advise people to do, don't even try to, I mean, don't call. You don't have to call. They have created where you can create your IRS account on irs.gov. Okay. And you're going to have to verify your identity, all of that. But when you have created your account on irs.gov, one of the things I want you to do is log in, go to the transcript section, right? And
mm.
you want to see when you go in transcripts, if it has a little asterisk by 2019, that means they have not processed your 2019 tax return yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're looking, hey, you can log in every day if you want to, right?
Right. Right.
So some
Right.
people
Right.
calling me, look, go into irs.gov, right? It's been e-filed. Go into irs.gov, create an account if you have to. Go to the tax transcript section, pull your tax record, and you're going to be looking for 2019. If it has an asterisk, they're not done yet. If it has your actual tax transcript for 2019, you're ready to roll. That means
Mm,
they've processed it. Then that's when you need to go straight to SBA.gov and
right.
apply because
That
then you know that you're ready, right? And you want to
perfect.
use the exact address from your 2019 tax. It's a lot of different things that'll get you caught up.
And that's
Um,
a big deal right there.
yeah,
You want to use
mhm,
the exact address on your 2019 tax return.
yeah.
And you just touched on a question. It was shout out Ashley Wiggins. Not going to lie, definitely just submitted my 2019-2020 1065S for my multi-member LLC. How
Okay.
do we know the IRS has processed our returns? Calling, or would we receive something in the mail? And I believe you
Just
touched on
touched
that.
on that.
Yeah.
You said
Yep.
Ashley. Yeah, just make sure that you create an account on irs.gov. And then when you create that account, after you verify yourself, you're going to be able to go to tax records. And then you'll see all the years that it has been filed, especially so when you did well, I know we're trying to get into a customer. I was about to get in the
See, this is why I love Talibah. She got straight into solution mode. Ashley, hey,
right.
look, go ahead and ask your question. Ashley, if you still live, hey,
Yeah.
just type the response. But ask your
So
question.
the way that you would know, at least you would know that your personal, because you would have gotten something from your 1065 and you filed your personal tax return is what I believe that you're asking. So you're gonna kind of have to have insight into the fact that your personal tax return is processed. So there's going to be some level of the business tax return that ideally should be processed. You might have to call because it's a little quirky with the business tax transcripts.
Mm,
Um, so you might have to call, but really if you go to creating your own personal account and seeing how your personal taxes were processed, then there could be some slither of hope that in them processing your personal tax return with your K1, then the business tax return might have an element in there too as
right,
well.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Hmm.
Now, if someone wanted to reach out to you and say, "Hey, Talibah, I saw the live with you and Isaac. I have my 2019 tax returns. Can you assist me on this process of the EIDL?" Now she's crazy busy, y'all. So that's why
Yeah, I
this
was
is
just about to say, like, so if your hair is on fire, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not the person for you because
yeah.
fortunately, I have been blessed with business owners that are actually waiting on probably looking at me like if she don't hurry up and get off this live and finish. Look, so I have to be honest. I mean, we're at about 2.5, 3 weeks out really on
Mm,
onboarding new clients. Period, which is why I'm doing these type of webinars because there are other folks absolutely out there. There's webinars on my page.
yep.
I am doing strategy sessions in the sense that I'll meet with you, and if you have questions, I'll try to navigate you through it. But as far as like anything in depth, then just pack your patience and we'll be ready for you in about 2 weeks.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Let me double check these questions. This has been fantastic. Even the responses have been good. Good. I'm seeing Stan Road, business owner. That's big. Yep, it is big. Folks learning that the credit building part of the loan, right? Not knowing that, and
Hmm.
I completely forgot about that as well. That
Hmm.
reporting, reflecting more history with your business credit, and
Hmm.
then having a relationship with the SBA,
Yeah,
right? Like it's
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like with banks, they first say you got to become bankable. Once you become
Right.
bankable, then there's different products you typically have access to,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so
Right.
now that you have a relationship with the SBA, you're building business credit. If you're
Right.
making your payments back on time,
Right.
positive activity. um, and then you have access to resources. So um, as Talibah mentioned, there are different lives and even greater detail of the
Hmm.
EIDL, the application process. So please visit her Facebook page
Hmm.
as well. I think there may be some information on YouTube, even on your website.
It
You'll be
is.
directed to all the different resources.
And the SBA is actually, I just saw on their site before I got on with Isaac that they're having an informational session on the 20th of this month.
Mm,
So if you go to sba.gov and go on the EIDL loan portion of their website, you'll be able to sign up for a webinar that they're doing themselves, right? And so if you have any questions and want to kind of walk through that process, they really are doing a good job. They even have checklists that kind of walk you through the portal, and it's
mm,
really not difficult if you've never applied before. Like if you didn't do an advance last year or at the top of this year, and you're truly just trying to apply for the loan, it is a relatively smooth process for you. As long as, like I said, you have your 2019 tax return filed and you have those numbers and the address and such, it's a smooth process for you. But again, just making sure that you fill out the 4506T correctly. And Mr. Perkins walks you through that in the webinar that's on my Facebook page. But again, the SBA is doing a webinar on October the 20th. Go to sba.gov for how you would sign up, and they'll walk you through the process again, because it's really an all-out collaboration. Hey, let's get this message out so that this
nice.
money doesn't go back into the pot, because that's what happened with PPP. There
Yep.
was actually still money left in PPP at the top, but in a bill that hadn't been passed yet, that was subsequently bill, but passed, but it was repurposed now into the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better, and so that broke my heart
Mhm.
because it was just like, man,
Right, right,
like,
right,
what
right.
message does that send, that you have all these billions of dollars and it's ended up going back in the pot. Well, it's a lot of
Right.
messages.
Yeah,
The first
yeah,
message is that we got to work harder to make sure that people know about these opportunities, and if that means holding their hand to get them bankable to be able
yeah.
to do this, then that's what we're here for. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's an all-out collaboration. Share
Yeah,
this information with your timelines, with your business owners, because hey, don't block your blessing trying to keep this information to yourself. Spread the
yeah.
word, because it's all about empowerment, community empowerment, and we don't hold on information over here.
Right.
You know what
That's
I
right.
mean?
That's
So
right. That's right.
I know that we're coming close to being done, but just know again that with the loan amounts, I want to kind of break down something a little bit
Please.
with the loan amounts. So remember I said that the caps were changed. Like originally it was 500,000, now it's up to 2 million. One of the things that I want to touch on for folks who have actually already gotten a loan is there's also an opportunity for you. You
Mm.
probably were capped at $150,000. Okay. And so if you were capped at $150,000 and you were, because it's flat 150 or a little bit under 149, and in the formula that we've talked about in this session here, that you actually qualify for more, you can actually request an increase,
Hmm.
because now that the program guidelines and the caps have increased, you're no longer capped at just being able to get $150,000. So there's a process through which you can request an increase. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about too is the different, like how much you decide to take, right? So I had a business owner who qualified for 90,000. She decided to do 20,000. And what's important on this is she decided to do 20,000 because she was really nervous about, well, it says on here that if your loan is over 25,000, then you have to do da 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 da. And I don't really know what that's about. I ain't really trying to, you know what I mean, go through all these different changes. So she stopped at 20,000. Now I said 20,000 is absolutely better than zero, right? So
Right,
don't beat
right, right.
yourself up. You were approved for that. You're going to get
Right,
20,000, right?
right.
But I'm also saying to her, that once we sit down do the strategy session, you use that $20,000, you still can request an increase because you were eligible for 90,000. Okay,
Wow.
so long
Okay.
as there's money in there. But I do
Right.
want to talk. I do want to talk
That's
about, in the
good.
little time that we have too. I want to go over this specific scenario as far as this business owner saying, I don't want to be bothered with anything as far as extra paperwork. So let's
Right.
talk about it. So anything over $25,000, right? So this is what happens. The
Okay.
SBA will file a UCC filing, basically, and a UCC filing is a lien on commercial property, like, or any assets that you have, right?
Okay.
So this is what happens. If you don't have any business property or anything like that, there's no UCC to file, right?
Okay.
But that is $25,000, right? Is they're going to do a UCC. I want to talk about the collateral, and I really hate reading, but it's important to me that you understand like what a UCC filing is, and
Yeah.
the whole piece about collateral, because I don't want people to get scared about that. So it says collateral includes the following property that the borrower now owns or shall acquire or create immediately upon the acquisition of the loan. This is
Mm.
stuff like tangible property, inventory, equipment, because a lot of people don't even realize they actually have assets. These are all assets.
Right.
And so
Right.
the UCC filing just means, okay, now we're going to give you this money. So therefore, you
Right.
have every incentive to make sure that you're paying it back. But
Right.
that should not scare you, right? Because again, we want you to absolutely have a strategy in place for the amount of money that you're getting, right? Don't be afraid with that. That comes with, this is just how the lending world works. Don't
Right.
take yourself
Right.
out of the game because you don't understand it, because then that means you're going into this thinking you're not going to pay it back. We're not
Right.
talking about that.
That's exactly right.
Right. So don't even do that. Now, if your loan is over 500,000, so that changes because your credit score has to be, I think, a 670 or 620. And if you
Okay.
have commercial property, then the SBA will need that deed, for the commercial property. But the whole point of
Mhm.
why I'm going over these things, because I believe in properly setting expectations,
That's good.
is I don't want you to think it's simple. For
Yeah.
you to get, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still an SBA loan now. It's still
Right.
a loan. Okay. I want y'all to say Talibah and Isaac, now
Right.
the property gone. Okay,
Right.
right. And plus, this is in the promissory note. So before
Right.
you sign it, read it. But the thing of it is, we want to get you in the door. We want to get you
Right.
the access to capital.
Right.
But it
Right.
also
Right.
comes with responsibility.
That's right.
But if
Yeah.
you know how to develop strategy in your business, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is
That's
nothing.
right.
Okay, so you have a UCC filing, but you also have $90,000 that you can leverage in the bank that you already know you're going to pay on
Mhm.
time.
Right.
There's
Over 30
other
years.
things. Yeah, once you get this loan, you're going
Mhm.
to have hazard insurance and other things in place. But believe me when I say these are all things that when you're going into this product, you know that
Yeah.
it's built into your strategy.
Yep.
Right? It's
Yep.
built into your
Yep.
strategy. So don't leave money on the table out of, remember, we talked about lack of small business financial literacy. Don't leave
Yeah.
money on the table because of anything, but you need to just go and develop the strategy to make all of this successful.
Right. That's right.
Leave the
That's
trauma
good.
behind.
That's
Leave the
good.
I don't have a banking relationship behind. Leave
Right.
all of that behind
Right.
because this
Right.
is what you have right now, an
Mhm.
opportunity, if you qualify, to develop strategy and crush the fourth quarter. We're talking about
Yeah.
before the year ends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is something, if anything that we've said speaks to you as far as eligibility for your business, first of all, spread the word because I know there's
Yep.
others. And then
Yep.
second of all, really dive in and really consider this as as a strategy for your business.
Mm. So if there's a mic near, you can go ahead and drop that, Talibah, because you definitely just did with that. Uh uh closing. And it's so strong. I did have one quick question, and I don't know if
Mhm.
it says it in the document. So with the UCC, it talks about the assets
Yeah,
that now are these assets in the company name or
right.
these
I'm glad
assets
you,
in the
yes.
okay.
If the assets are in the company's name, they, even if you have a loan over 500,000, they're not going to say, all right, we put a lien on your personal home.
That's good to
So
know.
no, it's
Okay.
not. So yeah,
Okay.
you're not leveraging your personal home. These are all business assets,
Okay.
which like it's a whole nother discussion on separating business from personal now.
There we go.
So
See, look at that. Yep. Yep.
I hope that you don't have because if you really think about it, and I don't want to go off script too much, but if you really think about it, if you have taken out some equity in your home, just be real careful about this. Make sure you read this stuff.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Okay,
right. That's right.
make
That's
sure
right.
you read this stuff, and you hadn't, you know what I'm saying, kind of mixed in some of your personal assets into your business, because if you
Mm.
have, then it's a chance that could be a part of the lien. But like I said, that's
Mm.
all the more reason why we got to be disciplined in separating our personal for business for protection, first of all, but yeah.
This is now I may be getting too technical here. What about somebody that pays their mortgage out of their business?
Oh, see, now this is one of those.
You don't gotta
Ooh,
answer it. You don't gotta answer it.
this
I
might have
just
to be we talk later. No, you trying to get me in trouble. See that?
no, don't.
No, but the thing of it is, you just need to be sitting with someone who
Yeah.
who knows the rules, and who can effectively show you how you're going to be handling that. To me, and this is like I said, a whole nother webinar too. But
Right.
to me, my quick answer to that is, perhaps you need to make sure that you have payroll
Mm.
and you're paying yourself. And what about you
Yeah.
just do that and handle your all the other expenses? How about that? Make sure you're on payroll.
That's good. That's good. That's right. That's right. We just gonna do it like that. That's
Yeah.
good. Oh my goodness. Look, so as y'all can see, these are my notes. Look at them. So front and back. So this has been very, very enriching. Even our nonprofits out there, right? Our 501c3s, I know that loans are not an attractive business model, but it is a part of doing business, right? And so if as long as you have a service offering that could speak to how those resources could improve, speed up, or attract more clients, then 9 times out of 10, this may be a good capital infusion that you'll be able to leverage to buy time in some instances, or ultimately build better, right? And
Right.
so I don't know where them bees came in back to back, but it flowed well.
Yes, yes, yes. But
All right. Just
if I
yep.
could close it out on saying to one thing that another when you talk about setting expectations, and I want to talk about sort of the comment about the loan and like the fact there's an interest a rate tied to it. So yeah, it's a loan. So small business disaster recovery, especially from like the federal government aspect and trickling down right into your state and local governments. I'm here to tell you, especially if you look at the Build Back Better plan that Congress is currently, stalling on, um, it's all loans, right? And
Mm,
so what I want to say is that there will very much continue to be grants out there. There are going to be opportunities for grants.
right. Right.
It just might not be from the federal government. It just might not be from the state government or city government. It might be from the private foundations. But I'm here to
That's
tell
good.
you, even the private foundations and even the major corporations, they're still asking you for your numbers.
Yep. Yep.
I, I
Yep.
saw I saw a private foundation grant that asked you for your tax return.
Yep.
So the point is, yeah, we're 18 months in this thing. Some of us still have trauma, for various reasons on being in the middle of a pandemic. But there's not any pressure relief in
Mm,
you needing to do what you have needed to get accomplished
right.
before, and that
Right.
is get your financial house in order. So find you someone who knows what they're doing, who's a business owner themselves,
That's a
who
fact.
has been successful and failed. You
Yep.
need both
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
Who can speak to every side of the table, and who can roll up the sleeves and no judgment zone. Let's do what we need to do. What do we
Yep.
need to do in order to
Right.
get you bankable?
Right.
Because, like I said, nothing's final but death. So as long as you're breathing, it's an
Yeah.
opportunity for
Yeah.
you to line up your strategy and get yourself and your business where you need to be, period.
Mm,
So it's time to roll up those sleeves because the opportunities are absolutely out there, but they're not going to come without some work, period.
yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Don't paralyze yourself
Right.
due to fear.
Mm,
It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be certain things you're not going to know. There were certain things that I didn't know while working with Talibah. There were certain aspects to where I was like, "Oh, she gonna see all that,"
exactly.
but I knew that I was committed to the structure necessary to be able to build a scalable, viable
Hmm.
business. So
Hmm.
I had to move my feelings to the side, as my partner C Green would say, "Leave your feelings in the car, in the back
Hmm.
seat." At that, I had to leave my feelings in the car and put my future on the table, and then that's what allowed us to be able to work
Hmm.
together. And so, for all business owners, make sure that you have an accountant that you trust, someone that you can communicate with honestly,
Hmm.
but also will stay in tune to the changes. Because one thing about the accounting industry, taxes change. Like
Hmm.
it's not the same as from one president to another, and so we have to be strategic on the way in which we not only form our business but also continue to fund our business,
Hmm.
that allows us to be able to run our business, right? And
Right.
so
And you want to have some advisory in there too,
yeah,
because some folks just do one thing, right? They
yeah,
just do taxes, or they just do accounting, or they
it's
just do
good.
bookkeeping. to speak to Isaac's point about things ever changing, you want someone who is it's their job, right, to know what's going on that's going to affect your business, whether it be federal policy, state policy, city policy, and all of that stuff. So you want a good mix of not only the technical skill of tax filing and accounting and bookkeeping, but also advisory,
Yeah.
meaning that they are, adding more into like helping you understand those numbers, talking to you about those numbers, developing the strategy. So I want to
Right.
also make sure that you do that as well. Because I
That's
get a lot of
good.
folks who had accountants and I'm looking at it and they're like, I didn't know that.
Right. That's
That's
right.
a lot of folks that I'm getting, they're like, so I didn't know that. And
Right.
and I'm waiting on you to get,
Right,
so
right, right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So people
good. That's
are,
so good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good. So good. So you heard the strategy sessions that Talibah may be able to squeeze you in the next couple of weeks. So
Yep.
make sure you move fast. With that being said, what's the best way to get in contact with you? Social media, all that.
Yep, I would do if you just do at TMB Tax on IG, or at you can find TMB Tax and Financial Services. You can Google it, you can Google my name, it'll come up, and you'll see how to get in touch with me. Like I said, even though we're pretty got a little clock here for the next 2 weeks, I really do really do want to work with as many business owners that I can. I just recently launched the 100 Black Businesses Bankable Initiative through my yes, indeed. So me
Let's
and my
go.
team, we are committed to exactly what Isaac and I are talking about.
Yeah.
And so there, I'll be posting more about the initiative through my nonprofit. So let's connect, and we'll do this.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, look, if this has been helpful, let's say you go through this process, you receive some funding, let us know. Let's say you
Yeah.
go through this process and it didn't go well, let us know
Hmm.
because your experience allows us to be able to speak to other individuals to either avoid or capitalize on steps that
Hmm.
you were able to take. So there's been a ton of free jewelry. Hopefully you picked it up, put it in your front and back pocket. The good thing is that you can the good thing is that you can save it. We got it on YouTube, LinkedIn,
Hmm.
Instagram. So there may have been other questions that I probably didn't capture. So my apologies to the audience that we weren't able to get your questions. But with that being said, I think we're right at 60 minutes. Talibah, thank you,
Hmm.
Queen, for
Thank
your leadership.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you for your insight and your business, and we appreciate you. I'm a client, as I shared before, and very thankful to be a client. Uh, and as y'all know, this comes to the conclusion of this interview, and stay planning.
See you later. Thank you.
All right, this end.